Good morning.
How you doing?
Good. You guys ready to get started?
I think we're ready to go.
All right. Bret, VandeLune, Public Works Director, here to present the 2025 budget presentation for our department. So our department, 5 divisions: air quality, engineering operations, water resources, planning and development, and housing services. So our estimated revenue, 12.7 million. Requested expense, 29.8 million. Current FTEs, 97.5. And as you'll see in the future slides on the decision package, no additional request of money for the decision package. So our revenue estimate is a decrease of 7.6 with increases for DNR and IDOLS reimbursements and miscellaneous adjustments specifically to for changes in the well reimbursement grant. Increase in permit charges for building, electrical, and plumbing permits of 29,000, and then decreases of 4.1 for the elimination of prior year appropriation of the NFC major home repair program, and a reduction of 2.5 million for elimination of prior year reimbursement for DOT bridge project, and that was specific to the Berwick Bridge, for those that are familiar with that project, east of Ankeny. Also elimination of almost $900,000 prior year appropriation for EPA grant, and that was for the sustainability grant. And then a reduction in the weed eradication assessments, and that's due to the changes that we made in our weed program when we stopped doing the tall grass complaints within the city of Des Moines. Also elimination of a prior year decision package. We purchased the spray truck, and there was a decision package last year, 31,000, so that's out this year. That's for our RVM program, and that had a one-time expense and had other matching funds to go to that purchase. And then a decision package of revenue estimate of 15,000, and then that'll follow up on the next slide with the expense to match, and that's grant funds. So expense request decrease compared to the current budget of $17.4 million. Increase of 400,000 for personal services. Increase in 32,000 for grant and miscellaneous adjustments, and again that's for well reimbursements and the ESIP payments. ESIP is the Energy Crisis Intervention payments for emergency furnaces. Elimination of project carried over from fiscal year 24-25, and that's for bridge, road, and consultant project carryover of 5.1. Elimination of a prior year appropriation for the NFC major home repair program of 4.1. Elimination of the water quality grant carryover is a one-time ARPA allocation of funds of 3.7. Elimination of a prior year wetland wave revolving loan fund. That was one-time fund created in last year's budget. And elimination of the prior year home repair, emergency home repair appropriation. That was ARPA funds and one-time allocation to provide extra funding for that program. And then the decision package of expense of 15,000. So on to the decision packages. The first one is miscellaneous hours of overtime, which is offset by EPA weatherization grant allocation. So it's in and out, but just to account for overtime. And again, a lot of that overtime comes in for those programs that when we need to go out after hours due to emergency furnace or something of that nature. Within the water resources, we're also requesting 2 FTEs, a water resources planner and a water resources specialist. And for those that were here when John Swanson provided his presentation, we have a growing program, and we've kind of reached capacity. If we're going to continue to be able to expand those offerings and keep working with our current partners, there's a need for us to expand. And with the changes in our weed program, that's where we're proposing to offset those costs. So we have those costs in our budget now, and so we're able to cover that with the 275,000 that's being requested. But we see it as an opportunity to not have to increase the ask, and also see it the ability to continue with our partners with IDOLS, with the Greater Outdoors Foundation, and then our member communities that are part of the watershed management authorities that we've got a lot of different projects and opportunities to grow and build those programs and keep things rolling.
So you're planning on 2 positions?
Correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah. 2 that if we get them, we'll be able to keep things moving forward. If not, we're gonna have to, figure out ways to try to keep getting things done, but probably reduce some of the things that we're able to accomplish.
Right. Okay.
So, I don't know if this is the right place for this one. Sorry, I'll get used to the mic. So we have a water specialist, and conservation, who coincidentally happens to be here today, has a water specialist. Why do both departments have water specialists? Why aren't we working in one of the departments instead of the other for that?
So I would say on our water resources that we work together very, very closely, and Rich can speak to it as well. But I would say there's not overlap in what we're providing. There's partnerships in what we're doing, so it's making what we're doing stronger. So I would say that, to not speak for Rich, but Rich is more on the scientific side of it, the water monitoring, and on the water quality side of it, and ours is getting the practices and implementing getting the practices into the ground. So it's a combination. There is definitely a lot of coordination and a lot of communication between Public Works and Conservation with our water resources.
Does it ever get confusing?
I don't believe so. I think I think it's we're one county. I think that we work in different departments, but I think the pieces that each group is working on, it's no different than working with our partner cities and Soil and Water Conservation District. There's just different pieces that everybody takes, and there's a great communication that's going on between them to keep the projects moving forward. And typically on the project side, that's where we're on I'll say the construction, the implementation, construction project side of it. And once completed in conservation, their people are working on the water quality monitoring stations and the ecology of the improvements that are going on throughout the county, specific to a lot of their own projects, wetlands and stuff.
Okay. I'm going to have more questions, but this probably isn't the time to keep delving into that.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions before we move on? All right, on to recent accomplishments. So I'd like to point out this year that I've added pictures to some of the items to try to provide a little bit of a background instead of just having a list of things that we've accomplished and then trying to explain them. Pictures seem to speak better. So emergency home repair, ongoing program, but with the increased funds last year, we were able to help over 300 people, and with this program, we're providing assistance to keep people in their homes. So the picture on the screen is of a handicap ramp. We do roofs, we do furnace repair, furnace replacement, those types of things. I'll call them relatively small dollar items for a big impact for income qualifying people. We did a new clean sweep program. That's our neighborhood cleanup. We made significant changes to the program from last year and had good success. We set up cleanup pickup sites within our neighborhoods and had good success with that. Out at our Public Works facility, we have a new air quality monitoring site. It's a federal recognized site that does continuous sampling. Also put in solar panels, and it's producing a surplus of energy for us, hopefully to work on offsetting our costs at the administration building and Public Works. Also updated our building codes in this past year. Also our weatherization assistance program, we did 250 projects, and that's the weatherization grant funded program. And then also we're working on going live actually next week with our OpenGov permitting and licensing software that I know I heard TJ talk about during his presentation. But this is going to take us finally to that next step of allowing people to apply for permits online. We've had an electronic system but didn't have that capacity, and so this is going to take us that next step further, and we're really excited about going live with that. Going live with the new software, there's always the challenges of that as well, so not naive to those challenges that may be before us as well. Other recent accomplishments specific to water quality, our batch and build programs for saturated buffers and bioreactors, the Creek View wetland that was completed in Ankeny, soil quality restoration projects. We did over 300 projects in Polk City and Johnston, and other communities have participate in the program and have cost sharing programs as well. And then the cover crop cedar, over 10,000 acres was the goal last year, and that was met through partnerships with Heartland Co-op. Sanitary sewer projects, two big projects from last year we did within Norwoodville, Northeast 30th Street and Northeast 31st Street, and then in Saylor Township, Northwest 4th Court. So two areas that ongoing and continuous, but those were the projects from last year. Onto the roads and bridges. So Berwick Drive Bridge, a big one that was referenced in the carryover. The picture on the left is the original bridge. The picture on the right of that same one is the new one. It's a night and day. It was a challenging project because of the railroad, and we found out that all of our current projects are dealing with the railroads. We're having those extreme challenges. So, but the Berwick Bridge done, and excited to have that completed. Other bridges, Southeast 48th Avenue and Northeast 50th Avenue, those are old bridges that got replaced with box culverts, made the openings wider, safer, and eliminated the weight restrictions. Broadway Phase 1, there's lots of phases to Broadway, but Broadway Phase 1, Stage 2 from Northwest 2nd to Northeast 14th Street was completed and is open, and we'll get to the upcoming opportunities as well, and you'll see it again. So, oh wait, there it is again. Broadway Phase 1, Stage 3, and this is from Northeast 14th to 4 Mile Creek without the railroad bridge, is going to start back up construction here in the next couple of weeks, and that is slated to continue, and it is going as well as expected. Also, upcoming opportunity is Air Quality received EPA Inflation Reduction Act to help disadvantaged communities to put in an air quality monitoring site at East High School, and should have that up and running by the end of this summer. We also received
Bret,
yeah.
This is Tom. I just got a quick question about the railroad tracks at Broadway. Had we decided, is that going to be an overpass for the railroad there at some point?
Yeah, so there'll be the tracks will go over the road. Yep, we're going to drop the road by 24 feet, and the bridge will go over the. So the railroad tracks will remain at the height they're at today, and the road will go underneath.
And so you're dealing with Union Pacific on that now? Is that going to be, that's a long-term project?
No, I mean it's slated, and just a couple weeks ago we just found out we received $11.5 million railroad crossing elimination grant from USDOT, Federal Rail Administration. So that's going to help our that we're over budget, but yeah, it's still slated. We're still working with the railroad. We're hoping for completion by end of 28.
Oh, great. Okay, thanks.
Yep. So also received a HUD grant for Aging in Place. Getting ready to start that through October of 27, and that's another program that's working with occupational therapists to help people that need different than our emergency home repair. They need help in order for them to age in place, and so it's high impact, low cost modifications to keep elderly in their current homes. So it's adding bathroom improvements to help them get in and out of facilities like that, in and out of their house, grab bars, things of that nature, and then working with an occupational therapist to make sure that those improvements are actually helping them do what they're supposed to. Along those same lines, a continued partnership with Every Step Care for Support Services, a nonprofit that we do the project management for to help kids with asthma. So we go in and do projects to eliminate carpet or things within houses that are causing recurring asthma and emergency room trips. And so that's been continuing that successful partnership. GIS implementation, I'd say as a department, we've been a little slow to the game, but really picked it up. We have some of our newer staff. It's obviously a high, often taught now in the colleges, and we've got 2 or 3 that are significantly helping us move things forward, and working with the IT department and David Dodds, who's their GIS architect, helping us move things forward. And now it's it's figuring out the things that we can do the most with. And so the most recent thing is we set up a bridge inspection program that they can use the inspector can use his phone to conduct the inspections and take the pictures, and then it's all uploaded and automated into the GIS system. So it's creating some efficiencies with the use of technology, and keep expanding those opportunities. Also, in the near term, affordable infill housing. So we're working on some approximately 20 single-family lots on tax sale properties that the county owned, and so excited to, hopefully you'll be seeing those come before you for public hearing and bid in the coming weeks. Currently under construction, Northeast 108th Street Bridge, which is just north of our south maintenance shop and also south of Thomas Mitchell Park. The Wetland Wave Program through Water Resources, there's currently 19 wetlands in design, and there are 4 under construction. And then the stream bank restoration, another big program, as John's talked a lot about, but you'll be seeing a lot of agreements. You've seen the first couple, but there'll be a bunch more coming for those agreements. And then the 22nd Street roadway expansion, this is to connect the dots of the improvements from the north to Ankeny at what would be, I think 72nd Street to, or I'm sorry, 62nd Street down to 54th Avenue. It's the one segment left that hasn't been widened to have turn lanes. And so we're also working on a railroad signalization there that's causing some challenges as well.
Why do you always pick roads that have railroads?
I think we've picked the roads that have railroads because we've avoided them for so long that we now have to deal with them, is the conclusion that I'm reaching.
Gotcha. You're a brave soul, Brett.
There are about 4 or 5 bills at the State House right now regarding railroads. We should look at those, send them to you, and see if there's any input that you want to give to our lobbyists.
Sounds good. So long-term opportunities, referenced a little bit ago with Supervisor Hawkinsmith. Broadway Phase 2 is the railroad overpass, and so again, reference that railroad crossing elimination grant that we received, but that's a $25 million railroad bridge, basically, with all the road underneath and the utilities and all of that. Towner relocation, Towner Drive relocation. So again, on the 141 corridor, trying to eliminate at-grade crossings. So the Towner, there's a Towner interchange proposed. Johnston's the lead agency. They're looking for build grant, so likely be bringing a resolution to support that application in the coming days. Also, Easton Boulevard intersection and roadway improvements with Northeast 56th Street. We have some STBG funding from the MPO and partnering with the City of Des Moines and Pleasant Hill to work out those safety challenges. And then ongoing sanitary sewer project in our unsewered areas of Saylor Township and Delaware Township and Norwoodville, and then continued development and expansion of our water resources programs.
Hey, Brett, this topic is, sorry to interrupt you. I know we've talked about this a couple times, but the Y up at East and Wood, it's 56. I assume that south leg's going to be eliminated, and we're going to go to the left there and and signalize that, or is that not right?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different concepts that we're trying to determine what's going to be final design, but would be to eliminate the south leg at Easton and keep Oak Hill, and then close off the north leg on the east side of 56th Street. So you'd basically take the 2 Ys and make one, call it 4-way intersection, but they're at Ys, so that's the geometry of the intersection of what creates the challenge. So one of the solutions also is a roundabout. We've looked at signalization. It's just some of it, it's what requires and how much acquisition is needed.
And clearly we're going to be able to avoid that old Civil War cemetery right there. Yeah,
that also adds to the Pioneer Cemetery there at the top of the hill, which is probably why the Y is there originally, but yeah, also part of the challenge.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Yep. All right, so from that into a capital improvement program, and I'll try to go through this as quick as possible. Some we've already talked about with some of the projects I've already referenced. So capital expenditure categories include 6.8 for roads, that includes right-of-way, $4 million for bridges, $1 million for equipment, and 2.3 for sewer and water. total capital expense of 14.26. Within the funding sources, the requests that include secondary roads is 6.6, and that includes county funds provides 53.6 of the total capital program. General fund transfer to sanitary sewer fund of $1 million, farm to market 125,000, STP, SERPTA, Fed aid bridges is 5.2, enterprise funds 1.3, and so we leverage 7.6 million to get 6.6 in additional federal, state, and local funds. And then my favorite, the pie chart of I'd like more pie charts in my budget presentation moving forward, but just shows the breakup of where those programs come from. So the biggest is 46.6 from secondary roads, 36.5 from state and federal aid, and then smaller percentages for enterprise, the general fund transfer, and then a small piece for farm to market. So for the roads, CIP for 25-26 for the roads, another picture of Broadway, continued theme until we get that project completed, probably in years to come. But the breakdown of the roads for the CIP is 14 miles of HMA overlay for 2.5, the Northeast 22nd Street widening improvements of just under 2 million, and then right-of-way of 20,000. And then some roads funded through other sources would be federal aid secondary roads for HMA resurfacing of 2.9 miles, and this is a carryover from our SERPTA funds. If you guys remember, we're no longer part of SERPTA, and we've put it all in the MPO, but we had some sub-allocated funds through SERPTA that through the agreement with them, we worked to be able to carry those funds through to make us whole. And then also a 1.75 STBG award for Northeast 22nd Street to get to that 6.8. For bridges, another picture of the Berwick Bridge to jump into the bridges. And for this, we have $4 million, equates to basically 4 bridges, $1 million a bridge, and those 4 bridges funded through county sources is one on Northeast 150th Avenue west of 68th Street for 1.1, and then the bridge funds through other sources, the Highway Bridge Program and the federal aid bridges. We got MPO STBG funds of 1.7, and those 3 bridges broken down between both of those groups are Northeast 12th Avenue west of 96th Street, Northeast 23rd Avenue east of 108th Street, and Northeast 162nd Avenue east of 104th Street. So scattered about, but this is part of that benefit for us of going from SERP to the MPO is that there's bridge funds available through the MPO, and so we're able to go after those because we've got a significant number of bridges that are functionally obsolete or structurally deficient. So we keep going after those funds each year through the MPO funding cycle.
Those will be replaced, those 4 bridges?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet sometime and learn more about how many bridges we have, how many we've done,
Absolutely.
how many are left.
Yes.
And if I could back up for just a question, I didn't get it in there in time. You mentioned years, like how long is this Broadway project? How long has it been? How long are we talking?
So we'll say 10 years. So we started in 2018 with our first build application request. We received the build funding in the 2020 cycle. The original estimates then we were to be complete now. And so through, COVID, with inflation costs, changes to the design, challenges with the railroad, we're, pushed out basically 4 years from what was the original proposed completion date to what we're looking at now.
Again, another meeting. We might become best friends.
Yeah.
Lot to learn.
There's a lot of information and a lot of history on the Broadway stuff that we have all the information about.
Thanks.
All right, so vehicle replacement, just over $1 million. So the proposal here is for 3 heavy-duty plow trucks and slide-in sander units for 2 of those 3 trucks. And then the water and sewer CIP is 2.3, so $1 million in the standing appropriation for sanitary sewer improvements in Saylor Township, And so these are to, help improve those neighborhoods that have failing systems, small lots, and water challenges, and the septic systems cause ongoing problems. So this helps stabilize those neighborhoods and allow for reinvestment in those neighborhoods by private property. And then the Sanitary Sewer Enterprise Fund, and this includes our Norwoodville Urban Renewal funding of $1 million, and that number should be increasing. And then a $300,000 from our local enterprise fund to do local projects when say a house right next to where a sewer ends, their septic fails, it allows us to be able to extend it, connect them, instead of replacing a septic when we know we want to extend sewer to that area. And there's a connection fee, but the connection fee does not equal the cost of us to do a small extension, so.
Back to the trucks. So we're asking for 3 more trucks. We've had probably 3 years of less snow. We have had 3 years of more city growth, so we probably have less county roads that we're doing. What is your protocol for switching them out, and why are we needing them right now?
Yeah, so we have an equipment replacement process. So basically we're actually, Aaron Putnam, county engineer, and I are working on it right now to figure out a scoring system, both on passenger vehicles for public works and also our equipment to basically be able to score them out to determine what the appropriate replacement schedule is, so that it's not just a set, hey, 4 years, 6 years, whatever, we're doing the replacement. It's, are we putting the miles on them? Are they lasting longer and all of that? So we're working on that scoring system, which models the general services vehicle replacement scoring. We're trying to match ours up with that for our equipment as well. But the idea is, right now we've had these slotted into the capital improvement plan. We've got, for the upcoming years that you'll see here in a minute, we've got a few trucks moving forward, so we're not replacing all 12 heavy duty trucks at the same time. We're spacing them out over 2 or 3 years, or 3 or 4 years, so that we can figure out the good ones and get the lemons or whatever, the ones we have problems with out of
So we're retiring them, we're not adding to them.
Correct. Yeah, it's a replacement. All right, so then moving forward, for the next 4 years, 26, 27, 10.3, 27, 28, 33.2, and I'll point out that's the Broadway, the extra 25 million there is for the Broadway Bridge. 28, 29, 9.1, 29, 30, 12.8, and so kind of the breakdown of a normal year is 2 to 2.5 million for a couple of bridges, $1 million for equipment replacement, 2.3 for the sanitary sewer, and 4 to 5 million for roads.
Can you repeat those 4 numbers?
Yeah, 2 to 2.5 per year for bridges, $1 million for equipment replacement, 2.3 for sanitary sewer, and as I said, I expect that to go up just because we're gonna have additional funds from Norwoodville for the urban renewal, and then 4 to 5 for roads.
Hey, Brett, on those roads, I think it was like 6.8 million. How much of that is unincorporated Polk County, and how much of that goes into city limits?
Yeah, so it's almost all unincorporated. We do partner with adjoining communities. If we're doing an overlay that's going to impact some of the incorporated roadways, then they'll participate in the project with us, and we'll just increase that to the bid.
Would the add-ins be the same for the bridges,
What's that?
the unincorporated versus?
Yeah, the bridges are all unincorporated. The thing we do find out is that when we get a bridge done that's anywhere close to a community, oddly enough, right after we get the bridge done, it often gets annexed. So, but it's also, I mean, if you think about it, it's fair or unfair. The city doesn't want to annex a bridge and have to spend $1 million on something that we've maybe been, putting off, or it's on our list. So, but it's, yeah, that's part of, we're all part of the county, right? So.
The 4.5, 4 to 5 million roads, some that will include the joint jurisdictional stoplights and things of that nature too.
Yeah, it includes all of the signals and improvements as well. All right, that's all I have. Any other questions for me?
I have a circle in my notes, and I can't remember why. On your line by line on page 1 under your expenses,
Yeah.
and it's the carryover of 4,023,000, elimination of projects carryover. What's that one?
So, that specific carryover from Fund 20 of 4 million, I'm gonna have to,
That's the NFC.
that's the NFC one? I think that's, the one above it is NFC. This is
Down
for,
lower.
this is for the,
Over from 20.
projects
this year
carryovers.
to next
So is that the Berwick Bridge? Yeah, so that was, jumping back into the slides, that was specific to for projects, bridges, roads, and consultant contract carryover.
That's
And
bridges.
So as projects jump from budget to budget, if we've got one in the middle we've already budgeted for, that's where we end up with a big number sometimes. And as we just went through this one, I talked about Northeast 22nd Street.
This is-
It's gonna be one that you'll see next year that'll be carried over because it's not gonna get constructed this
okay.
construction season or budget.
It's a bridge between the 2 years of bridges.
Bridges and roads, yeah.
So again, getting back to the water specialist, the question I have was, okay, so we're eliminating the weed reduction program and we're funding it with that program money going forward, so the cost is nothing. In year one, does that change in year 2 or 3, or is that, do you recapture the cost going forward?
So yeah, it's currently a budgeted amount for the weed commission. And so when we made those changes within weed commission where we're not mowing the.
Right.
So we have that currently, it's currently still budgeted in, and through our review this year, recognized that we have this amount that isn't being expended because we're not doing all that same work within.
Were we spending $275 in Des Moines on vacant lots?
We were.
We were, okay. And how is that being handled today?
So Des Moines changed their program out, and so they contracted out. So they go out for bid and then have a set rate that they charge for that mowing and they do all of the administration of it now themselves.
Okay, and these 2 new positions that we're adding are gonna allow you to do more?
More design, survey, construction management, coordination with the partnering cities within the WMAs.
Okay, and they would be managed by Jonathan?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Art, is the air under your department? You mentioned something about an air quality grant
Yeah.
for the,
Yes.
what is that in the budget, the air?
So they're an enterprise fund, so they're not part of this budget that you saw today.
Okay, that's what I
They're
was
not
wondering.
included in the FTEs that you saw today. They're an enterprise funded division.
Do you have any idea of what we get from the state and what we pay on it?
So there's no general fund money in it whatsoever.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So the specific numbers, I can get you more information. I don't have those to rattle off the top of
But
them.
that's the EPA through the state fully funds those positions, correct?
Correct.
We like doing that?
We do.
Okay,
Yep, we've had-
that's really the
it's
question I'm
been-
getting to. Do we
yeah,
want to
it's-
do it, or do we want to give
It's
it
been
back
very,
to
it's
the
been
state?
very successful. We have some great people. Jeremy Becker leads that division. He's been in the division a long time, started out as, I don't know what the equivalent would be, but started out and worked his way up, but they've done a lot of great work. And, if you look at from the air quality standpoint, historically, when we were just talking about it this morning, when we were meeting, and when he started at the county, the air quality in the county wasn't great, and there's some pictures that he has and the things that we've been able to accomplish and keep monitoring. And as technology gets better, it's better for us. It's easier for us to be able to monitor that stuff. Excited about the East High site because of the disadvantaged communities component of it. There's higher rates of disease and caused from airborne stuff that they're going to monitor and see if it's something specific to the concentration of whether it's vehicles or just something that's, that's causing it specific to that area.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brett. Rich, you're on.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors, Administrator Marasco, good to see you. And just to introduce you, my name is Rich Leopold. I'm the Director for Polk County Conservation. I have two board members in the audience today. We have Greg Lewis, and we have our Chair, Pam Mollenhauer. I also brought a few senior staff to have my back, and that's Jessica Lown, who's our Community Outreach Supervisor. Cami Rankin is our Deputy Director, and Senior Accountant, Natalie McFarland. So if I don't know, hopefully they will. Oops. Well, I'm going the wrong direction. There we go. Okay, going through our budget, there's some confusing line items, so I'm just going to point out a few as we go along. First there, that estimated revenue at $3 million, that's highly variable for us, and you'll see that more on the next slide, actually. So we bring in about $1.4 million a year to the county, and this is through camping receipts, picnic shelters, program fees, things like that. We have a lot of grants, and we have a lot of other sources, partner monies, and things like that. So that $3 million will be up and down from year to year, but over the last 10 years, we've increased our revenue to the county about 40%. So we've been doing very well. The requested expense, that looks like a huge number. We are about 2% of the county budget when giving operations. When we have our requested expense, what that largely is our bond money. So we have the Polk County Water and Land Legacy Bond, and we can spend, we take all the bond money that we've let and put it into that category. If we didn't ask for it and an expense came up, an opportunity came up, we couldn't use it, but we don't get punished if we ask for it every year and then we don't spend it. So that's why that number is so high. The current FTEs, we actually have about 65 full-time employees, and then the rest of that current FTEs is part-time, permanent part-time, and seasonal. We by far have more than any other department. We have Jester Park Equestrian Center, we have a lot of summer workers, we have Sleepy Hollow concessions, Easter Lake concessions, so we have a lot of part-time, permanent part-time. And that last number is scary and doesn't need to be, that 1.5 million. So of that 1.5 million, 815 is actually Sleepy Hollow, which is an enterprise account. So that is a loan, if you will, from the county as we work our way through Sleepy Hollow as an enterprise account. And then 518,000 of that is actually flood damage from this last year, and hopefully a FEMA ask that's going to offset that. So when you add those, when you take those two away, the actual amount which the expense is over target is about 200,000, and even that I'll explain a little bit more as we go. So here's our revenue estimate here, and I mentioned that the 1.4 million is pretty steady and increasing over time. There's a few changes that move around, so a lot of this too has to do with what we do with our bond. So like that decrease in earnings, that's a significant one there. We earn interest on bond lettings, so that goes up and down as we have the bonds. The grant appropriations, so with our bond, we try to leverage as much as possible. That last bond in 2012 that we had was a $50 million bond. We actually leveraged 42 million of additional spending. So that money is gold. So as we go forward, those numbers go up and down as we are successful in our partner or grant ask. And you'll see that reflected quite a few times in here. The only one I'll mention is that first one there, the AmeriCorps grant increase. So we were approached by AmeriCorps program in the state this last year. We have AmeriCorps people across our organization, and they said, you do so much, you should just be a host site, and we can help you with the funding. So we went ahead with that program, and we now have 2 full-time and 22 year-long appointments in AmeriCorps as a host site. So that required us to put some of our bond money into that to leverage that. It's one of the ways we do things without having to come here and ask for extra FTEs, as we have things like AmeriCorps, Conservation Corps, and things like that.
Rich, what is that the value of that AmeriCorps program with the 22 slots for?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think the overall program, correct me if I'm wrong, is about $550,000, $600,000, and of that we pay half.
Okay.
So 250, 300,000.
And the type of work they're involved in is work that we would otherwise have to employ outside contractors or use
Yes.
our full-time staff to do. So again, is that trail work? Is it park work? Is it?
Yep. Good question. All of the above and some.
Okay.
So we have things like our naturalists have summer programs, so summer camps and stuff like that. And by having AmeriCorps, we're able to offer a lot more. We've got waiting list for all of those camps. We have a person at the Equestrian Center that helps with trail rides and Horses Helping Heroes and programs like that. We have a lot of natural resources people that are out there doing water quality work, prairie and wetland restorations, timber stand improvement, things like that. So they're all across our organization.
So it's a great value.
It is, yes, very integral. Okay, our expense request. Now, there's a few things you'll notice that I've mentioned in here. A lot of them have to do with bond-related projects and monies that's coming in and out. A couple of them that I will point out is the one that's supplies, repair, maintenance, services, utilities increased. So about of that 62,000, about 41,000 is actually inflationary that we're asking for some help. The rest of it is additional. The individual things through here, I'll defer to my senior accountant if you have individual line item questions on this. The bottom decision package, the following slide, actually better describes some of what we're coming to you for this year.
Can I ask about the $2 million for the skate park? Oh, it's in limbo.
Yes, so of that, that was an appropriation we got last year. So we got
Okay, yeah.
$2.1 million from the county to build the parking area north of the Lordson Skate Park. We had a carryover of about $300,000 from the previous year to improvements to the skate park itself, some retaining walls and things like that. And then we also entered into a cooperative program with the county where the county gave us $300,000 and we put up $300,000 of our own money in from the bond from Polk County Conservation, and we redid almost every septic that we had in all of our parks, including an open lagoon system that we had at Thomas Mitchell Park. We shouldn't have open lagoons anywhere. So we used that cumulative $600,000 to redo all the septics within our parks. Decision package, so that first one there, you'll see the inflationary growth. The extra help hours, now this isn't asking for additional extra help. What this is a reconciliation between how HR categorizes our employees and the budget office categorizes our employees. There wasn't a discrepancy there, and so that's what that money is for. We are asking for no extra help whatsoever. So to explain that, I might need other people. Deb might be able to help somebody else, but that's what that is. The storm and flood cleanup, so of that 518,000, 400,000 is actually a major culvert we have at Jester Park. And you think back this last year, we didn't have a flood? Well, we did, because it rained really hard in northern Iowa. They had a flood, and a couple of weeks later, we have a slow motion disaster that plays out at Jester Park. So as that happens, that's all of our campgrounds going under, some of our major thoroughfares and waterways were clogged up. So that's where that number comes from. Now, on behalf of the county, we were asked to go after FEMA for that. So hopefully FEMA offsets all of that. Traditionally, what happens is if we have a disaster, whatever FEMA doesn't cover, the county has covered. That's what's traditionally happened. Youth program assistant, that's just a small increase there. That one that's confusing, the rental revenue. So we have things that we offer rent. So we've had historically some houses, and we use those houses to house Conservation Corps of Minnesota and Iowa people at a pretty reasonable cost, $250 a month. And that allows us to recruit those people and then house them and make a little bit of money on the side. We also have some cash rents on land. So we don't buy land to continually cash rent it, but often if we buy land, there might be 2, 3, 4, 5 years that we will cash rent it as we lead up to the prairie restoration or wetland restoration or what have you. Sometimes there's also existing CRP contracts and things like that. Buildings, we generally have our own buildings, but there again, every once in a while we'll have a building that for a year, 2 years, 3 years has an existing leasing contract. So historically what would happen is that money would just go into Fund 1 and then we would spend that money to take care of it. So whether it was maintenance costs, capital improvements, electric, water, utility bills, things like that, we would just do that through Fund 1. This is identifying and taking those out and putting it more into a Fund 6, which for us gives us direct ability to move that money in and out without having to go through Fund 1, which is much more complicated. The reason we changed this year is we're getting more. So for example, this last year we bought what we call the Lay property, the Farrar Airport. It's a large home and a whole bunch of hangars out at in the northeast part of the county, out in Chichaqua. One of the main reasons we bought that is as we go forward with our AmeriCorps base, we didn't have room for 24 more people. And so buying that, first of all, the house itself, we've renovated and we're able to put 8 people in it, I think. That'll be renting short-term, year-round in that house. And then we also got our administrative center out there. So AmeriCorps, the 2 full-timers, 22 program participants, will be administratively headquartered out of there, which is like less than a mile away from our natural resources shop, where most of them are going to be working. So we thought that this was, accounting-wise, a much easier way to flow that money through the budget. So that's why it's kind of confusing there. Senior Natural Resources Tech position. So this is something that we wanted to happen before the class and comp survey. As the class and comp survey took place, HR advised us to just put it on the back burner, and then the next, when it's completed, the next year's budget as, put it in. So this is somebody, we have a number of natural resources techs, and this is somebody that will call the day-to-day decisions. You go work here, you go work here. So it's not management or supervisory staff, it's a work lead position that we're asking for. And then that last one is the Sleepy Hollow Operations Loan, term to loan. So as an enterprise account, it's meant to make money. Of course, when you start any venture, you lose money, you break even, you're making money. So we have been very happy with what we're doing at Sleepy Hollow. You know, that first year, I think we made like $100,000. Year 2 is like $300,000. This fiscal year that we're in right now, we're looking at about $600,000 that we think we're gonna make as an enterprise account. Next year, we're projecting $1 million. And all of this stands aside from the fundraising that we're doing. We're on a $10 million fundraising program right now. And once we get that done with the new snow hills and the brew pub and everything else, it'll be far beyond the $1 million. So this is in process, and I know it's a slow, painful process, but we are really happy with where we're at Sleepy Hollow. We've made presentations. If any supervisor or anybody wants more on Sleepy Hollow, just let us know.
So this operational loan, what's it specifically for? Just to get us through this year?
This is just what it costs to run Sleepy Hollow. This is all mostly employees. So this is all the people that we have employed at Sleepy Hollow and some operational expenses.
So you anticipate making 600,000.
Yep.
So losing 215,000 this year.
Investing 215,000.
And 600,000 then comes back to us because you're calling it a loan?
Well, yeah, so the money is segregated within the enterprise account. So as we pay into that enterprise account, there's still a deficit this next year. Next year, there shouldn't be a deficit, and we should start to pay down the loan.
Okay.
So, and then as time goes forward, so once we're done, the model that we'll have, we'll probably be making, I don't know, $2 to $3 million a year. And as that happens, then we pay down the loan that we've gotten from the county first, and then we start looking at the pie chart and who gets the profits after that, as far as capital upgrades and what the county will benefit from it and things like that.
Okay. Can you explain, can Deb explain, can someone tell me about this extra help hours, please?
Yes, extra help hours. So that's the reconciliation. I don't know, Sarah, Deb, Who has a best read on that? I had it explained to me once, and I still was confused, but
If you could just do a summary then, Deb, I think Frank wants to take it from there, probably in the essence of time.
From a budgeting perspective, it's a matter of how we round the decimal points for part-time employees. An example is an employee who works 29 hours a week divided by 40 hours would equal 0.725 FTEs. If you multiply that by the 2,087 hours an employee works per year, then 0.725 is probably easier on paper, but 0.725 times the full-time equivalent hours gives you 1,513 hours. Difference of, in JDE, in our accounting system, it rounds it to 2 decimal points. So if you take 0.725 versus 0.73 times those hours, there's a difference of 10 hours between what is calculated as the amount of hours per year a 29-hour per week employee works. They're looking to reconcile that difference. That's what this decision package is. So that 10-hour difference for across all the part-time people they have would pay for that increased cost of rounding to 2 decimal points instead of 3.
10 hours per person?
If it's a 29-hour employee, 29-hour per week employee, or they have some that work different hours. So yes, for every 29-hour per week employee, it'd be 10-hour difference. And then depending upon how many hours per week, that difference would vary as well.
Wow.
But that's reconciling in JDE, whereas if you look at the actual expense, it would indicate that they are already funded appropriately.
I would agree. We pay out on a cash basis, not on an accrual basis. 2,087 hours per year is actually an accrual basis. We pay 2,080 hours per year, just the way pay periods fall in a calendar year.
Because we have 26 pay periods,
Correct.
except every, 11 years or something?
Yep, exactly.
Years like that?
Yes.
So it is what it is. Got it.
Thank you.
Except,
thank goodness for people like Deb Anderson that understands those kind of things. And we have a lot of part-time, permanent part-time employees, so it affects us quite a bit, so. Okay, now we're going to zoom through just some fun facts about who we are. By the way, that third bullet down, 3.2 million annual visitors. This last year we just calculated, and it was a little over 3.7 million visitors to our parks and trails this last year. So very strong as far as the impact that we're having out there. Pictures, we like pictures. I think Bret stole that from us, but that's okay. Some recent accomplishments. So to the far left there, we have the Athene North Shore, $8.1 million project, and a lot of you were at the opening, what we're billing as the most accessible, universally designed park in the United States, and it's been incredibly popular. Next to that, I'd mentioned earlier, Lordson Skate Park parking area is now done. All the amenities are in place, the art's in place, everything's good there. The next one looks like a boring section of trail. That's Great Western Trail right there. We spent $500,000 on repairing that trail this year. And then the far right is the 4 Mile Mountain Bike Park. So out north of Copper Creek by Pleasant Hill, we are, it's open and operational. We still got to do some parking lot work, but the park itself is open. People love it. More recent accomplishments. So on the far left, we put 2 new playgrounds in at Easter Lake, one at Thomas Mitchell. And another thing I wanted to mention here too is that bond, we're using it a lot for internal things that need to get done. It's not just new sexy projects. So we did 3 picnic shelters. We've been doing bathrooms all over the places. We are spending a lot of time and money taking care of what we have with that bond also. The next one over is the Brandon Lay Challenge course at the Jester Park Equestrian Center that we put in. This is very popular with veterans, is used a lot in our wellness programs. The next picture over is me signing the Trails and Mitigation Bank. So this is a mechanism that we've used within conservation that helps us restore natural lands, improve water quality in a very short period of time, and then get paid back over time by the selling of the mitigation credits. And then the far right is our Sleepy Hollow Phase 1. Already mentioned that a few times. Upcoming, so opportunities and considerations in the near term. On the far left, that's a picture of, we teamed up with the city of West Des Moines on an icon site, so a parking area and paddle entrance into the Raccoon River. This is off 63rd Street or 1st Street, however you call it, just north of Browns Woods. So we pay half, they pay half, and then they're ceding over the entire land to us. Part of the bond is that we have to own or manage forever what we spend bond money on. So that will be a Polk County Conservation site. Next picture over is water quality monitoring. There have been questions about water. We have now a 10-year program with water quality monitoring. That water quality monitoring program probably has one of the strongest scientific databases in the state, better than the DNRs even, I would argue. So we know a lot about what's going on with our water. I also put this in just to highlight, it's not just us. We coordinate volunteers and cities and watershed management authorities and everything in doing this. Next one, I've spoken about AmeriCorps program and becoming a host site. And the far right is a conceptual drawing of Two Rivers Park. So this is the one within eye shot of here, that Mid-American is building a $15 million park. The county and the city are coming together for funding operations, and it's coming to us to run the place. That'll be done this summer. Oops. There's one more slide. More long-term, so the far left is Brenton Slough. So this is a 1,114 acre acquisition that's happening over 3 years, 24, 25, 26. And so we just are finishing now the first part of the acquisition, which is over 700 acres. And then we'll be doing phase 2, phase 3. The funding is falling into place really well. We've gotten a lot of good federal grants, a lot of partner money is going into it. It'll largely be a landscape of nature for nature, but there are going to be amenities going in there. One of the biggest and most popular is the recreational trail, looking at Grimes, Granger, Jester Park, and perhaps even Johnston. And this could act as an initiator for getting that trail off the ground and getting the partners. There'll also be hunting, fishing, bird watching, wildlife watching, soft trail systems, picnic shelters, things like that in years to come. The next one over is the Polk City Junction Trail. So we've been looking at hooking up Polk City forever to the High Trestle Trail. Finally, after years of negotiations, it's happening. We got all the land acquired, working with Polk City, who's been a wonderful partner, and that'll be, in the next year or two, we'll start paving on that. The next one over is the Icon Fleur site. So this is just across the Raccoon River from, not Grays Woods, what's the name of that? Grays Lake. It's a city park, who cares? No, it's Grays Lake, right across, and on the south side of where, you know, the Hubble developments and the soccer stadium conversation and all of that. Well, we will have an Icon site there. Right now, it's city land, and once it's built, it'll come over to the county, so we'll have a significant footprint there. And then the last one is our little Alleman Park. So Alleman in north central part of the county doesn't have any city parks, any county parks, anything. Now it will. So we bought a piece of land here a couple years ago. We'll be doing a wetland mitigation bank on that land to restore the 4 Mile Creek as it runs through there. We're going to use that as a base of operations to begin other work in 4 Mile Creek. And also then soft trails, picnic shelter, parking area, things like that. We're working with the city of Alleman, and North Polk Schools is very excited about this for some of their programming and cross-country and stuff like that. So I think that's all I have.
Rich, on the Brenton Slough project, the potential trail, and I know Johnston and Grimes and Granger are all excited about it. How many miles are we thinking that will encompass if in a perfect world?
In a perfect world, if everything falls into place, we're probably looking at 10, 12 miles. And some of this depends on what Johnston does. I think the most interesting part of this is going from Granger to Grimes to Granger, right. Is that they have for a long time wanted a better connection up to 141. And this will go right through a very environmentally sensitive part of the slough. There's a gravel road that floods all the time there now, and is sometimes covered with frogs and things like that. So we're probably gonna be looking hopefully at some kind of a wildlife bridge corridor in there, like you've seen in many other states. I don't know whether Iowa's ever done that. So it'll be a long-term, expensive endeavor, but it'll be so cool when we get it done. And to have a recreational trail that'll go across that, be able to see the marsh itself and sandhill crane nesting and things like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Rich, why on, like, in the slide, you had the 815,000 for operating expenses for Sleepy Hollow? And on page 2 of the decision package, decision package number 7, Sleepy Hollow operating expense 2.17 million. Is that extended years out, and this is supposed to have 815, because over on the end, it only has a 0, so I was just confused.
So
about
I don't, the 815 is the expense of 25-26 operations. The other number, where is that number that you're referring to?
It's the second page, it's under the requested budget.
Conservation summary on the fine line detail.
It's number 23, right down here near the bottom.
The 815,000 is the difference between the revenue and the expense. So you need to look on page 1 as well. There's a decision package for the revenue.
So if we add the revenue, the expense is actually 800,000. Because
The total expense for Seton Hall is 2.1, 2.2 million. You have to see on page 2 of the one where you put it on the decision package for Seton Hall, what's the
Of the 1 point,
1.4.
One
So
point.
that's the 815 is the difference between the expense.
oh, so I thought the 815 and the 600,000 would be the difference of 215, but it's much bigger than that. So it's not
I
operating
stated that.
budget of 815, it's
Right.
operating budget of
I
200.
stated it incorrectly. Deb is right on that, so.
The whole thing's $2-point-some million operating budget.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Rich, under the, on the storm cleanup, so you're applying for the FEMA.
Are.
Okay, so that's on hold until we see if we get a
Right.
decision on it.
I'm not sure when that comes in, but
And then on the inflationary, so you're just assuming that some of these prices are going up?
Natalie can best describe this. So this was something that normally this is taken care of through subsequent appropriations, but this year we were told to just put that within our decision package. Natalie, can you address that?
We've had inflationary costs with just our utilities, our fuel's been, we have more vehicles for one thing, so we have more fuel costs, parts to repair the vehicles, those have all gone. I don't necessarily say the prices have gone up, but our usage has gone up on some of them versus,
So-
some things have gone up in price.
You can't just find that in your budget somewhere on, just since it's usage on some of these things?
Well,
We have, for some of the things, these are things that we just can't, we don't have room in our budget for. Some of them we have taken into account already.
yeah, the ones that we have easily been able to, we could certainly do that. If we're absorbing that, then that will likely be some type of cuts in, services or the things that we do, so. We have a fleet, so we maintain our own vehicles. We have a work lead and 2.5 full-time mechanics, I think it is, 3 full-time mechanics.
Rich, on the bond funds that are remaining, what is remaining in bond funding currently?
So that's a moving target and depends on how you slice and dice it. So we took our initial bond letting of 20, have to help me out here, Cammie. We've got 24 million, was it?
Yes, approximately.
Okay, so we do lettings, and when we have a letting, then we have to spend it within 10 years. So we try to measure it out. And as you do lettings within our 10 years, 2 years, within that time, you try to leverage as much as you can. So when we do our lettings, when it first starts, it's mostly about infrastructure, and then over time, it's more about water quality, land acquisition, and things like that. So our first letting was about 20 million. Our second letting, which we've done, was 12.7 million. I think my numbers are coming up here. There about 10 million of this overall is through Icon Water Trails. And then they have the discretion on where they want to spend it. They've spent about $1.5 million so far. So of everything, if you took it as to what's left, 26 million of capacity that we as Polk County Conservation have, and about 8.5 million of capacity for Icon Water Trails. So those two together would be what, $35 million.
You saying 8.5 goes to Icon, and what's the balance?
8.5 goes to Icon, and we, after this last letting, so this is still money in the bank that we haven't spent, but what isn't accounted for yet is about $26 million. And of course, we have a number of projects that we have slated for that, and it has to meet the pieces of the pie that we told the public. So whether it's park infrastructure, or land acquisitions, or water quality, or those pieces of the pie, we conform our spending to what we told the public we were going to use it for.
So what we're gonna spend at Brown Woods and what we're gonna spend at Gray's Landing is yet to be spent. It's slated, but it's part of the 10 million that.
That's a good question, and no, that's actually above. So when we did this last bond letting, it was a total of $65 million. Of that $65 million, 50 went to Polk County Conservation, similar to what we did in 2012 when 50 million did. Then we had $15 million of capacity that was dedicated toward water trails. Of that 15 million, 10 million went to Icon and under their discretion, and they chose to use that whole 10 million on the Fluor site. The other 5 million is under Polk County Conservation's discretion, but it's meant to be to partner with other organizations. So that's where we partnered with the city of West Des Moines on building that one just to the side of Browns Woods there. We still have, of that money, 3 million left to partner with other cities largely to do water trails.
Okay. Did we partner with Johnston for their projects or not?
We did not,
Okay.
no. They had their city allocations and plans, and they went forward. They came here directly for money for the Merle Hay one, but no, we didn't have any money going into that. I know in the future, we're gonna be doing things with Pleasant Hill along 4 Mile. So some of the monies that are going through Public Works and doing stream restorations and things like that, we're gonna partner up with and then do our own. So Sleepy Hollow will have a Icon Water Trails entrance, as will the 4 Mile Community Center.
So the Gray's Landing one and the Brown Woods one, will that be our money or will that be a partnership with county and city?
The one by Browns Woods is half and half between West Des Moines and us.
Okay.
The one across from Gray's Lake, that's a total Icon project of 28 million, but of that 28 million, 10 million came from our bond.
Okay.
Yep, so 18 million came from other sources.
There's a lot of moving parts to all that,
There are,
right? Yeah,
yes, very
okay.
complicated.
It's not over yet.
It's not. Tom, do you have a question?
No, I'm good.
Well, just as a last plug, since I did serve on this board, they have been doing field trips for the last couple summers, and there's no better way to see what we're doing in the conservation world unless we go out and see it in person on foot. I would highly recommend that you invite the supervisors and see if anyone wants to join in on your field trip days this summer.
Absolutely. Any supervisor that wants to get together for a day to just do your district or go to other districts, I'm more than open. Administrator Marasco, the invitation's there too, so.
Thank you, Rich, appreciate it. Concludes our work today, so we'll be dealing with emergency management and HR tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you.